Welcome to Rotherham Sendias's video about the annual review process with a particular focus on requesting changes to the EHC plan. First, let's look at what the purpose of an annual review is. There's a duty on the local authority to review an EHC plan within 12 months of the issue date or the completion of the previous annual review. The review is to be undertaken in partnership with you or your child or young person and must take account of your views, wishes and feelings. The review is done to consider progress towards achieving specified outcomes and consider the appropriateness of continuing the EHC in light of progress made, changed circumstances or needs, and to take a look at changes that might be required to outcomes, provision or educational placement. So what is the annual review process? Firstly, the local authority informs head teachers which pupils who have an EHC plan must be reviewed that term. In readiness for the annual review invitation being sent, the person arranging the meeting from school must obtain written information from the child or young person's parent, the head teacher or the principal of the school, the local authority SEN officer, and if there's health and social care involvement in the EHC plan, information from the healthcare professional who's responsible commissioning body, or the local authority's social services function. So 2 weeks prior to the annual review meeting, the head teacher must send an invitation to all relevant parties. The written information that's been requested must also be circulated at this time. The review meeting is then held, and this will usually take place in the school where your child attends. This meeting will provide you with an opportunity to share your views against the EHC plan, make any requests for changes, and listen to other people's views about your child's progress. Notes should be taken at the review meeting, which will also include taking a note of any difference of opinions. And then within 2 weeks of the meeting, the head teacher must prepare and send out a report recommending any changes to the plan and referring to any difference between those recommendations and the recommendations of others attending the meeting. The report must include all advice and information that was obtained prior to the meeting too. So here's some practical things to consider before the annual review meeting is due. Firstly, take a look at the most recent EHC plan. You'll find this either on the EHC hub or by asking school for a copy. You should have a hard copy on your own records too that was posted to you if this was finalised prior to the EHC hub being implemented in Rotherham. When reading the EHC plan, ask yourself, is it accurate and up to date? Take a look at sections A and B. Does it contain all your child's special educational needs? Or has there been some changes over the past year or since the plan was first issued? You'll find these in section B. Does it clearly describe what the school must do to meet your child's needs? This should be in section F. Does the description of support provide clarity on what's in place, how it will be provided, for example, whether it's small group work or one-to-one? And does it say how much will be provided? For example, is it daily, weekly, monthly? Is it for 5 minutes or is it for more? And you'll find this in section F. For every area that your child has a need, so those in section B, is there some support details in the plan that will address this in section F? If your child has health needs that impact on their SEND, are these listed in the plan too? You'll find these in section C. And does the plan say how the health needs will be met? That should be in section G. If your child has social care needs which relate to your child's SEND, are these clearly recorded in the plan too? That should be in section D. And does the plan say how social care needs will be met? And that should be in sections H1 and H2. Has your child met the EHC outcomes listed in section E of the plan? If everything reads well in the plan, then you would want to inform the annual review meeting that no changes are needed from your perspective at this point. However, if you have any comments, questions or thoughts on the above points, then make a note of these in readiness for your meeting. If you have any updated or recent reports which were not available when the EHC plan was originally written, and if these contain further clarity of your child's needs or recommended provisions or strategies to put in place, then you may wish to request the EHC plan is changed at the annual review meeting using the reports as evidence for your request. An example of how to structure this for your meeting is on the next slide. So here's an example of the type of document you might want to pull together in readiness for your annual review meeting. You'll see in the first column are some comments that you wish to make. For example, you'd like changes to be made in section A because it's out of date, or there's additional special educational needs to be included, or the plan's not specific or quantifiable and you'd like that rewording, that there's additional identified needs to be included or additional provision to be added. You'll then see where in the plan it should be put. So you'll see that the section A being out of date refers to section A, the additional needs, section B, and the provision, section F. The next column says the changes that you're requesting, such as removing all of section A and replacing it with a new version that you want to submit at the annual review, or if there's additional needs that need to be included, where you're getting that from, and then the evidence is in the last column. So you'll see, for example, if a diagnosis of autism is now being given, the evidence of that is the CAMHS diagnosis report and when that was dated. So what if you or others are thinking about a change of school, which you'll find in section I of the plan? If you're thinking about a possible change of school, remember you have the right to request a particular type of school or setting of the following type to be named in your child's plan. It's important to take a look at this list, and it mentions it further in the slides. So firstly, it's a maintained nursery school, a maintained school and any form of academy or free school, and that can be either mainstream or special, non-maintained special schools, further education or sixth form colleges, and independent schools or independent specialist schools where they've been approved by the Secretary of State and are published on a list. You'll find that list here on this link. What if others in the meeting feel a special school would be more appropriate, but you're not so sure? There is a section in the Children and Families Act 2014, and what that says is your child has a legal right to a mainstream education. However, this is a general right and not a right of a particular mainstream school. The local authority must secure that the plan provides for a child or young person to be educated in a maintained nursery school, mainstream school, or mainstream post-16 institution, unless it's incompatible with the wishes of the child's parent or the young person, or the provision of efficient education for others. So here's some practical things to think about when considering a change of school in readiness for the annual review. Firstly, do your homework before your annual review meeting's due. Take a look in your local area at the types of schools available. You may find the Send Local offer a helpful start. Although there's nothing preventing you from looking further afield, it is good to start your search local so your child feels part of their community and doesn't have far to travel each day. Check the possible future schools' websites. Firstly, check what type of school they are. Remember the list that we've just talked about. If it doesn't say on their website what type of school they are, then you may find the following website also helpful. Then check they are a school that could meet your child's needs. Some special schools are designated for specific types of needs or specific age groups. Get an understanding of the sort of support they offer, the level of learning needs that other children have, and take a look at the school's policies. Once you've narrowed your search down, arrange a visit. It may be helpful to visit the school you feel may be appropriate. This will help you understand things such as travel time, as well as get a feel for the way in which the staff work and interact with the children and young people. It will help you understand class sizes and child to staff ratio, and if your child has sensory needs, it will also give you an understanding of how they may manage the environment. And probably more importantly for your child, you could get an idea if they may feel comfortable and make future friends. It may not be appropriate to visit with your child to begin with, so you feel able to ask any questions freely. You also don't want to provide your child with the wrong idea, as the decision is yet to be made if they're able to move schools or not. Please be aware that some schools have become inundated with requests for visits. As such, some have started to apply a weekly or fortnightly group visit so the schools can manage the demand without impacting on their provision for education of their children. These visit slots can become booked up for weeks in advance, and so you may wish to start your search early to coincide with the annual review meeting. So here's some questions to ask or things to consider when visiting or speaking with new schools. Does the school cater for a specific need, and does this match with your child? How many children are currently on roll? What age group does the school currently work with, and what are the class sizes? How many staff work in each class generally? What's the current level of academic ability in the year group your child would be in? And does the school offer GCSEs for older students? If not, what do they offer instead? How does the school work with and communicate with parents? And finally, does the school currently have space in the year group your child would be needing? You may wish to take a look at the school's policies on things such as behaviour and exclusions, personal care, or alternative communication needs, if these things are particularly relevant for your child. Here's some other things to consider when requesting a change of school. Evidence. If you wish to change the type of school your child attends, for example, from a mainstream school to a special school, the local authority will want to understand the reasons for your request and consider any evidence that supports a possible change of placement. There may be evidence in documents such as an updated educational psychology report. For example, is there a description of the type of environment that may be better suited to meet your child's needs, or a cognitive assessment which shows their level of learning is significantly different to their peers within their current school? School exclusion letters which may show your child's current school are struggling to support positive behaviour within their setting, or SEN support plans which may show that your child is being taught more and more in isolation from their peers. Remember, there is legislation which says the local authority will have to name the school or setting that you request unless the school or setting is unsuitable for the age, ability, aptitude or special educational needs of your child or young person, or the attendance of your child would be incompatible with the provision of efficient education for others or the efficient use of resources. This legislation is relevant for maintained schools, academies, non-maintained special schools and independent schools that are on the Section 41 list and further education colleges and sixth forms. So what if the school you want to request is not on the list we've mentioned? What if it's a wholly independent special school? If you request a school which is not covered on the list we've mentioned earlier, local authorities will still have to have regard to the general principle that pupils are to be educated in accordance with the wishes of their parents. But this needs to be compatible with the provision of efficient instruction and training, and the local authority needs to ensure they avoid unreasonable public expenditure. The local authority still have to consider your request, but they're not under the same conditional duty to name this type of school in your child's EHC plan. So here's some practical things to consider for the actual annual review meeting. Make sure you know when and where the meeting will take place. Give yourself enough time to get there and time to stay for the whole of the meeting. Ensure you have cover for things such as care for younger children or school pickups. Take your notes with you. You can also hand a copy over to the school and ask them to send them to the local authority along with the school's report, but keep a copy for yourself. Be prepared to share yours and your child's thoughts, but also be prepared to listen to other people too. If people provide new reports or other written information at the meeting, feel able to ask for some time to read these. If you're asking for changes to the plan, make it clear what changes you're asking for and your reasons or evidence that you have around why you're asking for those changes. If you want a change of school, say clearly which school you would like and again your reasons or evidence why you would like this. This is important as the local authority will have to send a copy of the EHC plan over to the school you're requesting for a consultation. If you want your child to remain in the same school, say so, even if this is different to what others are recommending. The school will have to report any difference of opinions in their report to the local authority, and the local authority will then have to consider that. So what happens after the meeting? The school must draft a report of the discussions, including any difference of opinions. This should be shared with you before it gets sent to the local authority. The school must send this to the local authority along with any reports or written views 2 weeks from the meeting taking place. The local authority must then consider all the information within the report. Some practical things to do at this stage. Make sure you read the information the school is sending to the local authority. Ask the school for the contact details of the person in the local authority who will be processing your annual review. If you're on the EHC hub, you should find the contact details on the hub, but please be aware your annual review may or may not be placed on the hub at this time. If you don't have access to the EHC Hub, you can email hubhelp@rotherham.gov.uk and request support to gain access. The local authority must send you their outcome of the annual review in writing within 4 weeks of the review meeting taking place. The local authority must decide whether it's going to propose to either continue to maintain the EHC plan in its current form, amend it, so make some changes, or cease to maintain it. They will do this if the evidence shows the plan is no longer needed and the outcomes have been met. If the local authority decides to maintain the EHC plan in its current form or cease to maintain the plan, it must inform you of your right of mediation and right of appeal. If the local authority decides to amend the EHC plan, it must start the amendment process without delay. So what should you expect if the local authority have agreed to amend the EHC plan? Where the local authority proposes to amend the EHC plan, it must send you or your young person a copy of the existing non-amended plan and any accompanying notice providing details of the proposed amendments, including copies of any evidence to support the proposed changes. You or your young person should be informed that you can request a meeting with the local authority to discuss the proposed changes. You'll be given 15 calendar days to comment and make any representations on the proposed changes, including requesting a particular school or other institution is named in the EHC plan. Although you may have made this clear in the annual review paperwork, you may wish to reinforce your request at this time. Following your views being shared, if the local authority decides to continue to make the changes, it must issue an amended EHC plan as quickly as possible and within 8 weeks of the original amendment notice. The final amended EHC plan will either be posted to you, emailed to you, or more likely you will receive an email asking you to log onto the EHC Hub to see the plan. The final EHC plan will be issued with a letter, and this letter should be dated and give you details of your timescales for your right of mediation and right of appeal at this point, as well as where to gain impartial information, advice and support. We hope you found this information useful when considering changes for an EHC plan as part of an annual review process.